So the Spurs are again two very good young players. Another solid player who had very good, who had a, I should say not very good, but a solid rookie year in Josh Hart, especially considering the fact that he was a 30th pick. They'd begin Robin Lopez, who has 1 year left on his contract, and he could produce a little more than, not a little more, probably a decent amount more than Luol Deng can, because Luol Deng isn't producing anything no matter what roster he's on. It'd be a nice little homecoming for Luol Deng too in terms of him going to the Bulls. And they get that Bulls pick, which should fall somewhere between the 6 and 8 range. So tell me, what do you think about this trade proposal?
Yeah, I mean, I like the fact that the Spurs get a draft pick. I think the Spurs are really good at drafting, and if they get a pick next year that's in the 5 to 10 range, I think that's good. I think you still get Ingram, you still get Kuzma, you get Hart, who you don't have to worry about keeping Tony Parker next year. You get a little bit of cap flexibility with losing that contract of Robin Lopez, so you're going to have some cap space next year. For the Spurs, and maybe they have a good young team, and maybe somebody wants to come play with them. So I like that. I mean, obviously it's a better deal for the Lakers because they get Chris Dunn, they get that point guard, and I think you've said this to me that they still will have room to sign Paul George in that deal, right?
Yeah, so that's the other factor here is that by swapping out Chris Dunn for Lonzo Ball, I was going to say LeVar Ball, but Lonzo Ball, which you are swapping out LeVar Ball as well, which is another positive. But you save about $3 million with those 2 point guards. And now you're trading away as well Luol Deng, you're trading away Ingram. So you're really saving altogether about $8 million, which now opens up the room to sign LeBron James and Paul George to full maximum contracts based off their experience. Now, LeBron James could get about $35 million, a little over $35 million, because he has more than 10 years of experience. Paul George has between 7 and 9 years of experience, so he'd be signing for a little over $30 million, which I think those maximum contracts are important to those two players. And by completing this trade, you open up that room. Now, again, you've given up Mo Wagner in this deal, which in that proposed the Lakers, the straight up swap between the Lakers and Spurs, you're not giving up Mo Wagner. But you are gaining a very solid defensive point guard, a point guard who could facilitate plays. Not a great scorer, but with Leonard, James, and George, you don't need another scorer. You need a defender and a person who could really control the ball and really help control the offense. And that's what you get in Chris Dunn. He's still a young player. I believe he's 24. Still a young player. So you're getting a very solid point guard. Not the same type of point guard as Lonzo Ball, but a different type of point guard. One that might fit better with this team.
Yeah, and I think if you're the Bulls, you do this trade because you get Lonzo Ball, you have Lauri Markkanen, you have Wendell Carter, you're pretty young. You'll still have some cap space next year, even though you take on Luol Deng. And then even the year after that, you're going to have more cap space because you're going to be missing that $18 million. His $18 million is going to go away. Ashik's $11 million are going to go away after that year. So you're going to have 2 years of enough money to pick up some players when your young rookies are still on rookie contracts, so they're not really holding you, like they're not bad against your cap, right? So I think those are good deals for the Bulls. They'll have some young talent. Some talent will want to come play for Chicago. This third proposal that I had come to my head was, we're going to discuss this pretty shortly because it's probably not going to happen because it really does look like Kawhi is going to LA. But it was a proposal I thought about involving Philadelphia and Boston. It was Boston would obviously only do this if they got assurances from Kawhi and his agent and Uncle Drew. Uncle Drew.
I'm kidding, actually. I don't know, but
whatever this terrible person is. They would trade him to Boston. So Kawhi and Robert Covington goes to Boston. The Philadelphia get Gordon Hayward back. The Spurs receive Dario Saric, Jaylen Brown, and probably that Memphis pick.
And Jared Bayless, I believe.
And Jared Bayless for salary reasons, yes. So if I'm the Spurs, I'd do that trade probably before I would do that Ingram trade just because I like Brown's potential more than Ingram's. I know people really like Ingram, and he's probably going to be a better scorer than Brown. I do think Brown's going to be a better overall player because of his defensive abilities. I I like Dario Saric. I like how Dario Saric would fit in with the Spurs. He's young. He's on a good contract. You take Bayless, and his is expired contract next year. And then I like that Memphis pick, which I actually do believe Memphis next year is going to be a little bit good. I don't know if they're going to make the playoffs, but I think they would end up being like a 9 or 10 or 11 pick. And if not, that becomes a 2020 pick or a 2021 pick. So I like that. I don't think the Celtics would want to give up the Sacramento pick, even though that's the pick I would rather want. But hey, who knows? And as the Philadelphia 76ers, you're losing Covington and Sarge, and you're gaining an all-star. You're gaining Gordon Hayward, who I think will fit your system well. You're going to be left with some cap flexibility. You can still sign a decent player next year. So I think you do it if you're the Sixers. I think you are losing a little bit, but you're gaining back an all-star who has proven he can score, and I think it's a good fit. I think him and Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid would end up working well together. So that's my third proposal. But again, I'm not as hopeful that this will happen because it looks like Kawhi's going to the Lakers.
Yeah, I think that's a very interesting proposal. I like the fact that Boston does get something else beyond just Kawhi Leonard because of the fact that they are giving up Jaylen Brown, who I actually agree, I really like Jaylen Brown's potential, and Gordon Hayward, who is an all-star, who has been an all-star in the past, and probably still will be an all-star when he comes back. I really do like the fact that they are getting Robert Covington as well. They'd probably have to add in another pick, perhaps their own in 2019, or that Clippers pick in 2019, or that might convert into 2 second-round picks in the future. There's a lot of protections on that pick. But probably add in another pick just like that. Like you said, not the Sacramento pick. I do like the trade for San Antonio as well. They are getting 2 Greg Popovich-type players in Saric and Jaylen Brown. Those guys are both very good team players. Jaylen Brown's, like we said, he has a lot of great defensive potential, a good offensive player, plays with a lot of confidence, and that's what I really like about Jaylen Brown. Sarge is another player who should be a very good starter in the league. Probably will never be an all-star, but a very good starter and just a Greg Popovich type player. Looks like a player who will listen to his coaches, do what is expected of him to do, and do what the team needs to do to win ball games. And like we said, now with Philadelphia, they get an all-star in Gordon Hayward, especially if they're not able to draw Paul George or LeBron James to their team. That would be a great pickup. And that would leave them with about $20 million to spend on another free agent or two, such as J.J. Redick or KCP, Contavious Caldwell-Pope, whoever they feel fits their roster best.
Avery Bradley, I think this is just my gut, but I think J.J. Redick is going to take a pay cut maybe to stay with Philadelphia because of how much money they paid him this year. So maybe that gives you enough flexibility to get both. And I think that puts Philadelphia in a good situation. Plus, you keep Zaire Smith. You keep that 2021 pick. So you still have some flex. You still have some assets there. So I like that for that reason. And I was going to say for Boston, you do get Robert Covington. And if you think about it, you almost made a championship. And basically, you're losing Jaylen Brown, but you're adding for next year's team Kyrie Irving, Kawhi Leonard, and Robert Covington. So I'm pretty sure that guarantees you making the championship. Okay, so there was one more trade that was a little bit under the radar that happened. It was the first trade after the draft. It was the Polish Hammer, Marcin Gortat, was traded to the LA Clippers for Doc Rivers' son.
Yeah, I really thought this was one of the more pointless trades that occurred. I understand Washington was going to get rid of Gortat no matter what. I just think, so Washington saves about $1 million in this deal by swapping out Rivers for Gortat. Both of them have a year under contract left. Austin Rivers, I don't know how he fits into that rotation with Wall, Beal, and Oubre there. I guess it could be a backup point guard behind Wall, and if Wall goes down, he could play there. I really don't see the point of Clippers acquiring Gortat other than I really don't see a point. He's got a year left on his contract as well. Now, the Clippers do have an interesting situation next year where they should, especially if they don't re-sign Avery Bradley this year, they will have a ton of cap flexibility next year. And it will be interesting to see. So, really, like I said, Rivers and Gortat both have a year left on their contract. So really, it doesn't matter for them. They'll have that same flexibility next year with this trade. He fits in as a center there. Do I see? The thing is, I think both of these teams are so mediocre. Wizards are a little better than the Clippers, obviously, but especially the Clippers are such a mediocre team, and they will be next year. They have a very mediocre roster. I really feel that it's time for them to start rebuilding. So I guess for them, really, I don't see what the point of them was for doing this deal, other than really you get rid of your own son if you're Doc Rivers. I don't know if he wanted that. I thought it was just, I laughed when I seen this trade. I thought it was completely pointless.
I think for the Wizards, I think it actually isn't that bad of a deal because first of all, Gortat and Wall hated each other, so you kind of had to get rid of Gortat. The other thing is, I do like Austin Rivers coming off the bench, providing some bench scoring. He's going to be one of the best players playing garbage time. He's going to have the ball, and you're going to be okay. Just give him the ball. He's going to go out there. He's going to do his thing, and he's going to be able to score, which is pretty much the only thing he is able to do. I think when it comes to the Clippers, why did the Clippers do it? They do it just so they can make this transition easier, so we can talk about trades for when DeAndre Jordan opts in. They will have a center who will take over, and they can trade DeAndre Jordan and pick up some assets. So we'll talk about some ways we can trade DeAndre Jordan if he opts in.
Yes, and there has been reports that DeAndre Jordan is trying to facilitate a trade to another team by opting in, and it makes perfect sense for him. He's got $24 million on his contract for next season if he decides to opt in, and he probably will not get that on the open free agent market, especially with the fact that a lot of teams do not have money this offseason. So it makes perfect sense for him. It makes sense for the Clippers to move on and get some assets in return. So we've come up with some trade ideas here that for DeAndre Jordan. Now, let's preface this with the fact that there have been rumors that Dallas Mavericks are trying to work out a trade to acquire DeAndre Jordan. Now, I took a look at their assets, and they really do not have much. The package that we came up here with was Wesley Matthews, J.J. Barea, and Dorian Finney-Smith, which similarly, if you're the Clippers, you're receiving Wesley Matthews and J.J. Barea, mediocre players on a mediocre team. Both of them have a year left on their contract, so it'd be another, I'd feel the same way about it as I would with the Clippers receiving Marcin Gortat. Really, I don't know why they're doing it, but they are doing it. Dorian Finney-Smith, a young player, is the best I could put it. I don't think he has much potential. His contract isn't expensive, so Mavericks don't really have any first-round picks to offer until 2021, so I don't know. I highly doubt they offer a first-round pick in this deal, probably a couple second-rounders. You're not getting much, so I don't like it.
Yeah, I know that's the rumblings. I looked at the roster. I couldn't figure out why the Clippers would do this. So it's not like anyone you're getting in return is any good asset, so why would you even be forced to do this trade? So I wouldn't do it. And I think there's other options that the Clippers can explore, and that's what we're going to talk about right now.
So the first one we came up with is between the Timberwolves and the Clippers. Now, the Timberwolves would receive DeAndre Jordan and Lou Williams, and the Clippers would receive Andrew Wiggins, Aldridge as a salary match here, Justin Patton, who was the Timberwolves' first-round pick last year. He's a center, and then the Timberwolves 2019 first-round pick.
I like this deal for both teams. I like it for the Clippers for one reason, and that's Andrew Wiggins, who has a lot of talent. He came in with a lot of potential. He obviously hasn't realized it, and maybe hasn't been a fit thing with Tom Thibodeau, who's a hard coach to work with, especially for young players. So I do think, Andrew Wiggins is a decent enough asset that you make this deal. And you get that 2019 first-round pick. Who knows? Gathering picks is what you want to do. As we learned from the Sixers, we learned from the Celtics, you want to get as much picks as possible. I like this deal for the Timberwolves for a few reasons. They get DeAndre Jordan, so you have a DeAndre Jordan and Karl Anthony Towns front court, which is pretty scary defensively, and it's pretty scary. It's a really good rebounding team. You get Lou Williams to be a better Jamal Crawford off the bench. You get DeAndre Jordan, who can maybe work a little bit with Karl Anthony Towns and help him improve his defensive game. And I'm sure Tom Thibodeau will like him. Your bench will consist of Taj Gibson and Lou Williams.
Yeah, I think it's very solid because of the fact that Lou Williams could score, which is what they really needed last year.